Have you ever noticed how some questions sit quietly in the back of your mind, questions you'd never dare to ask out loud, but they whisper to you when you're alone? Maybe you've wondered about one of those questions yourself, something so private, so personal, that even thinking about it makes you pause. Let's be honest, intimacy doesn't disappear with age. You still crave closeness. You still want to feel desired, connected, alive. But with time, the body changes, hormones shift, comfort levels evolve, and suddenly the things that once felt natural now come with a quiet uncertainty. And somewhere in that silence, one delicate question often floats to the surface: is it safe to swallow during oral intimacy? It's not a question many women say out loud, yet it's one that so many quietly wonder about. You see, the truth is, we talk about blood pressure, cholesterol, even joint pain as we age, but when it comes to our most intimate health, especially topics tied to pleasure, trust, and vulnerability, the conversation often stops before it begins. But silence doesn't mean the curiosity fades. In fact, it grows stronger, because deep down, you know that staying informed isn't just about medical facts, it's about protecting your peace of mind, your comfort, and your confidence. As we grow older, our needs don't disappear, they simply change shape. What once was spontaneous may now require care and awareness. But that doesn't make it any less meaningful. Intimacy, especially in your later years, isn't just about physical connection, it's about reassurance, companionship, and rediscovering yourself through someone else's touch. And that's why this conversation matters. Because when it comes to something as private as oral intimacy, the question of safety isn't just a physical one, it's emotional. It's about trust. It's about knowing what's truly happening in your body, and how to stay safe without losing the closeness you cherish. So, in this video, we're going to gently unpack what most women don't know, the biological facts, the small but important health considerations, and the quiet myths that have shaped generations of confusion and shame. We'll talk about what really happens in your body during intimacy, the hidden risks many overlook, and even the surprising health benefits that no one ever mentions. By the end of this conversation, you'll understand how a little awareness can transform what feels awkward into something empowering, how knowledge can replace fear with confidence, and silence with calm understanding. So before we dive in, I want you to take a deep breath. This is a safe space. Here on Elderly Wisdom Guide, we talk about the things most people are too shy to bring up, not to shock, but to heal, not to judge, but to understand. And if you believe, like I do, that intimacy and education belong together, that growing older should never mean growing silent, then let's make this a moment of honesty and courage. Comment "I'm learning" below, because together, we're breaking the silence around topics that truly matter. And don't forget to subscribe to Elderly Wisdom Guide, your space for open, caring conversations about health, love, and aging gracefully. Now, let's begin. Picture this. A woman in her early 60s sits quietly in her doctor's office. Her hands are folded, her voice barely above a whisper. She's been married for over 30 years. Her husband is gentle, loving, and they've shared a bond that's lasted through children, work, and all of life's changes. But lately, she's found herself wondering about something she never thought she'd need to ask. She leans forward and says softly, "Doctor, is it still safe? You know, to be intimate that way?" Her cheeks flush, her eyes lower, because even after decades of marriage, some questions still feel too personal, too awkward to speak aloud. But what she's really asking is something that many women, especially in later years, have quietly wondered: can something that once felt natural now pose a risk? The doctor smiles gently. She explains that intimacy is a natural part of human connection, no matter the age. But yes, like every form of closeness, it comes with its own realities that are worth understanding. And that's where most people stop listening, because the truth makes them uncomfortable. But if you're watching this now, it means you care enough to listen all the way through. Now, here's the truth, something rarely spoken about in open conversation. Oral fluids, in a healthy partner, are mostly made up of water, proteins, enzymes, and trace minerals. To the body, they're not inherently harmful. They are, in many ways, like any other natural body fluid the human body produces. But, and this is where awareness becomes important, those same fluids can sometimes carry bacteria or viruses. Especially when one partner has an infection, even one they may not know about. It could be something as simple as a cold sore, which is a form of herpes, or something more serious like hepatitis or HPV. These can be transmitted through contact with the mouth, lips, or throat. Now, that doesn't mean you should live in fear. It simply means knowledge is your best protection. Because when you understand what's possible, you have the power to protect yourself without losing the closeness you cherish. And here's something most people don't realize. Age doesn't eliminate risk. It's a common mistake. People assume that once they're older, once they're past their childbearing years, they don't have to worry about those kinds of things anymore. But that's not true. Your body still responds to intimacy. Your immune system still functions, and if anything, it can become a little slower to fight off infections with age. So, when couples ignore conversations about safety, not because they're careless, but because they assume it no longer applies, they unknowingly leave a door open. Now, let's pause here for a moment. This isn't about shame. It's not about fear. It's about understanding that sexual health doesn't expire with time. It evolves, just like every other part of your well-being. You wouldn't skip your blood pressure check, right? You wouldn't ignore a sudden change in appetite or a new ache in your body. So why ignore the changes in your intimate health, the part of you that still seeks love, touch, and connection? The truth is, your body deserves the same care in your 60s, 70s, and beyond as it did in your 20s. And protecting that part of yourself doesn't mean ending intimacy, it means nurturing it with respect, caution, and love. So, here's what matters most. Keep communication open with your partner. Talk about health openly and honestly, not as an accusation, but as an act of love. Because the healthiest kind of intimacy is one built on trust and awareness. And don't skip regular health checkups. They're not just about disease prevention, they're about peace of mind. Knowing both you and your partner are healthy allows you to enjoy each other fully, without that quiet voice of worry in the back of your mind. When you treat safety as care, not as fear, you keep your relationship strong. You keep the spark alive in a way that feels right, safe, and emotionally fulfilling. So yes, swallowing during oral intimacy isn't automatically dangerous. In a healthy, monogamous relationship, it's generally safe. But if there's ever doubt, discomfort, or uncertainty, it's always better to pause, ask, and learn. Because love should never come with worry, only with understanding. And yet, safety isn't the only question here. There's another layer, one that many women overlook, the body's natural response. Because sometimes, it's not about infection or illness. It's about how your body feels afterward, how your stomach, your senses, and your emotions respond to something so intimate. Some women report feeling perfectly fine afterward. For them, it's just another moment of closeness, nothing unusual, nothing to worry about. But others, quietly and without ever realizing it, experience something different. Maybe a mild stomach upset. Maybe a wave of nausea. Or even a slight burning sensation in the throat that passes after a while. And here's the interesting part, most never connect those small reactions to intimacy itself. They think it's something they ate, or maybe just an off day. But the body, especially a maturing one, often communicates in whispers. And when we ignore those whispers, they grow louder over time. You see, for most healthy individuals, swallowing small amounts of seminal fluid poses no serious harm. The body naturally breaks it down the same way it processes other organic materials. But every person is unique. Every body has its own way of responding, especially as hormones shift with age. There's even something doctors call seminal plasma hypersensitivity, an allergic reaction, though rare, that can cause itching, irritation, or stomach discomfort after exposure. It's not dangerous in most cases, but it can be confusing and uncomfortable, particularly for women who've never experienced it before. And here's where it gets even more fascinating. As women move through menopause, estrogen levels drop. The body becomes more sensitive. The tissues of the mouth, throat, and even the digestive system can grow thinner, drier, and more reactive. So, something that felt perfectly fine years ago might now feel slightly different. That doesn't mean something is wrong with you. It doesn't mean you're broken. It simply means your body is evolving, and it's asking for gentler awareness. But sadly, many women misread their body's cues. They think, maybe my body's rejecting my partner. Or worse, maybe something's wrong with our relationship. No, it's not that at all. In most cases, it's simply chemistry. Your body is still functioning, still vibrant, just more sensitive to the world around it, and that includes intimacy. The most important thing you can do? Listen. If you ever experience discomfort, talk about it, not with shame, not with embarrassment, but with self-respect. Your healthcare provider has heard these questions before, even if society hasn't. You deserve answers without judgment. And never forget, discussing intimate changes doesn't make you weak or awkward. It makes you wise. It shows that you care about your health and your happiness. Because pretending nothing's changed doesn't preserve intimacy, understanding what has changed does. Now, as we talk about sensitivity and reactions, there's another side of this conversation, one even more delicate, one that most people don't think about at all. It's not about what happens immediately after intimacy, but what might linger silently beneath the surface. Imagine this for a moment. A retired couple, maybe in their late 60s, rediscovering each other after years of distance. The children are grown, the house is quiet again, and for the first time in decades, they have time to touch, to talk, to laugh, to reconnect. It's beautiful, it's tender, and it feels like starting over. But what many don't realize is that the body, in its later years, doesn't fight infections the same way it once did. The immune system becomes slower to respond, slower to recover. And while everything may feel perfectly safe, the truth is, even in trusted relationships, risk can exist quietly, without any visible signs. Certain infections, herpes, HPV, even hepatitis, can still be passed through oral contact. These aren't limited to younger people, they don't disappear with age. In fact, some infections can lie dormant in the body for years, sometimes decades, before showing any symptoms at all. That means a person can carry something without ever knowing it, and through a moment of closeness, unknowingly pass it to their partner. It's not betrayal. It's not neglect. It's simply biology, the quiet persistence of something the body never completely erased. Now, here's where the misunderstanding often happens. Many couples assume that because they've been together for years, they don't need to think about protection or testing anymore. But here's the truth, time together doesn't erase medical history. It just makes it easier to overlook. And for those who may have lost a partner and found love again later in life, that's a beautiful thing. But it also comes with a reminder, to protect the health you've preserved for so many years. Your new beginning deserves care. Because at this stage of life, something small can have a bigger impact. A minor infection that the body would have brushed off at 40 might linger longer at 70. Chronic conditions, like diabetes or heart issues, can make the immune system more vulnerable. That's why awareness isn't fear, it's protection. So, what can you do? Keep things simple. Schedule routine health screenings, not just for general health, but for sexual health too. Talk to your partner with openness and patience. It doesn't have to be awkward, it can be a gesture of trust. You're saying, I want us both to stay healthy so we can keep enjoying what we share. A relationship built on honesty and safety isn't less romantic, it's more meaningful. Because real love, especially in your later years, is about care. It's about wanting your partner to be well, and wanting yourself to be at peace. So yes, even in intimacy, safety and self-awareness go hand in hand. They're what allow you to keep the spark alive, without fear, without second-guessing, and without losing the tenderness that makes connection so precious. But remember, this conversation isn't meant to make you anxious. It's meant to open your eyes gently. Because intimacy isn't just a physical act, it's emotional, spiritual, deeply human. And when practiced with knowledge, it becomes something far richer than just closeness, it becomes healing. Now, we've talked about safety, sensitivity, and risk. But let's balance that out, because it's not all warnings and precautions. There's also beauty in this side of life, real, measurable benefits that come with physical connection, even later in life. For many older couples, physical closeness isn't just about passion, it's about peace. After years of shared life, of struggles and routines, of raising children and facing losses, the body may slow down, but the heart still remembers the language of touch. You see, intimacy in your later years takes on a new meaning. It's softer, more intentional. It's not driven by impulse, but by connection. And that connection, even something as simple as holding hands or resting in each other's arms, can do more for your health than most people realize. Studies have shown that touch, gentle and genuine, can lower blood pressure, reduce stress, and help regulate the heartbeat. When you experience closeness, physical or emotional, your brain releases a chemical called oxytocin, often called the bonding hormone. It's the same hormone that helps mothers connect with their newborns, and it continues to play a vital role in keeping our emotions balanced and our hearts calm, even in old age. Intimacy, in all its forms, is therapy. Not the kind you find in a bottle or a prescription, but the kind that reaches into the soul. It nurtures emotional stability, boosts the immune system, and helps with sleep. It reminds your body that it's still alive, still loved, still worthy of affection. Many older adults who stay connected, who still hug, kiss, laugh, and share touch, report feeling younger, more at ease, and less lonely. It's not about grand gestures, it's about human warmth. But society doesn't talk about this enough. We're often told that intimacy belongs to the young, that passion fades with wrinkles and gray hair. But the truth? The need for love, for comfort, for tenderness, it never leaves you. It's part of who you are from the moment you're born until the very last breath. So, when someone tells you that intimacy isn't for people your age, smile and remember, they're wrong. Intimacy doesn't have an expiration date. It just matures, deepens, and becomes something more meaningful. And here's the beautiful part, the more you embrace safe, respectful, and mindful closeness, the more it supports your overall well-being. Intimacy increases circulation, helps balance hormones, and can even improve mood by releasing endorphins, those feel-good chemicals that act like nature's antidepressants. For some, it eases pain. For others, it quiets anxiety. But for everyone, it offers one simple truth: connection heals. Approach it with mindfulness. That means paying attention to your body, to your comfort, to your emotions. Your body may not respond exactly as it did 20 or 30 years ago, and that's perfectly normal. What matters is not trying to recreate the past, but embracing what feels right in the present. Be patient with yourself and your partner. Talk about what feels good, what doesn't, and what's changed. Sometimes, what your body needs is different, maybe slower movements, more comfort, or simply more time to relax and trust. That's not losing passion, that's deepening it. Remember, tenderness, not speed, defines intimacy now. It's not about proving anything, it's about feeling something. When you approach closeness with respect and care, it becomes a form of self-love too, a quiet way of saying, I'm still here. I still matter. I still feel. And perhaps that's what true intimacy becomes in later life, not just the act itself, but the emotional healing it brings. Because sometimes, what heals the soul isn't medicine or therapy, but the warmth of another heartbeat next to yours. And this brings us to the heart of it all, the emotional truth behind these questions. Because beneath every health concern, beneath every scientific explanation, there's something deeper, the need to feel safe, loved, and understood, even in the most private corners of your life. It's not easy talking about this, especially for women who grew up in a time when such topics were considered taboo. Back then, the word intimacy wasn't something you said out loud. You kept it private, hidden between the walls of your marriage, or buried in silence because that's what society expected. But silence can be heavy. It can make you question yourself, your feelings, your body. And over time, it can turn something natural and beautiful into something confusing or even shameful. That's why conversations like this matter. Because silence often leads to misunderstanding, and misunderstanding can lead to fear. And here's the truth, there is nothing shameful about wanting to understand your body. There's nothing wrong with asking questions about your health, your intimacy, or your well-being. That curiosity, that courage, is a sign of strength, not weakness. This isn't about being afraid of intimacy. It's about embracing it, with awareness, with confidence, and with care. It's about knowing what's safe, what's not, and what feels right for you. Because awareness doesn't take away closeness, it deepens it. When you understand what's happening in your body, when you and your partner can talk freely without judgment or embarrassment, intimacy becomes safer, calmer, and more meaningful. You start to connect not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually too. So, take a moment and think, when was the last time you and your partner truly talked about your comfort, your needs, your boundaries? So many couples go years without those conversations, believing they already know each other completely. But the truth is, bodies change, comfort levels shift, and health evolves. What felt right 10 years ago might feel different now, and that's perfectly okay. Have that open conversation. Ask the questions that linger quietly in your mind. If something doesn't feel right, don't ignore it, speak up. Consult your doctor if you need to. You're not being dramatic, you're being wise. You're protecting your peace, your health, and your happiness. Because intimacy isn't just about the act itself, it's about trust. And trust grows stronger when you replace fear with understanding. Here's the beauty of it all, intimacy in your later years can be just as fulfilling, just as passionate, and often even more meaningful than it ever was before. Why? Because now, you're not chasing excitement. You're nurturing connection. You're not proving love, you're living it. And that's a powerful thing. Knowledge doesn't steal romance, it strengthens it. Awareness doesn't dim the spark, it protects it. And when two people share that awareness, their bond becomes unbreakable. So, as we close this heartfelt conversation, let's take a moment to reflect. We've explored the truth about safety, understanding what's in those intimate fluids and how your body reacts to them. We've talked about the hidden risks that often go unnoticed and the importance of staying proactive about your health. We've uncovered the emotional and physical benefits of closeness, how it heals the heart, strengthens the body, and brings peace to the mind. And through it all, we've learned one timeless lesson: aging doesn't mean the end of passion. It means the beginning of wiser love. Love that listens. Love that understands. Love that grows with grace, not urgency. Now, I want to hear from you. Which part of today's topic surprised you the most? Or maybe you've had your own experiences, those quiet, personal lessons that taught you something about health, trust, or intimacy. Do you believe topics like this should be talked about more openly in our society? Share your thoughts in the comments below, because your story might be the one that helps another woman, another man, feel a little less alone tonight. And if this conversation touched you, if it made you think, reflect, or simply feel seen, take a moment to subscribe to Elderly Wisdom Guide. Here, we talk openly, honestly, and compassionately about the things most people shy away from. Because growing older should never mean growing silent. Every day, we share stories, science, and soulful reflections that remind you that wisdom doesn't come from age alone, it comes from awareness, understanding, and the courage to keep learning. So stay wise, stay curious, and most of all, stay kind to yourself. Because awareness is not just knowledge, it's peace. It's the foundation of a healthy, happy life at any age. Thank you for watching, and remember, you are never too old to love, to learn, or to live fully. I'll see you in the next video.